The LA police chief himself has come out and called this urban warfare, totally destroying Karen Bass's narrative, which is his boss, and the kinds of propaganda gaslighting that Gavin Newsom has also said. Welcome to Doug in Exile as we go into more and more on the funding and the specifics, because this is about what the riots actually mean, guys. It is not the left is saying these are illegals and that we're trying to protect them and their children. That is not what this is about. This is about a communist takeover of America. Now, those sounds like scare words, other than it's being funded. And other than there's proof of it that they're being moved in from out of state.
Drinking with my girls, hey, drinking with my boys, hey, bones in the air, not click, selfie, bones in the air, not click, selfie, bones in the air, not click, selfie.
Welcome to Doug in Exile. Let's watch.
They have weapons of all kinds. We arrested a number of people last night for curfew violations. I think 14, and 3 out of the 14 were armed with weapons, handguns. And so when you look at that, what appears to be one thing is something very different. We've seen in those backpacks that they'll have hammers, they'll break up curbstones and concrete bollards, break up into smaller pieces, which they'll then throw at police. They put them in backpacks and walk around like that. I've seen somebody today walking around with golf balls.
They look like they appear to be one thing, but they are another, is what the LA police chief said. First, ask yourself, and you can tell me down in the chat below, what do they appear to be? That is, what is CNN, which this is on CNN, what is Caitlin Collins, Democrats, Chuck Schumer, what have they lied about and said what it appears to be? And then the LA police chief says, but really, it's something else. That's what we're telling you, is it is something else. This is urban warfare. This is politics. This is anti-Trump. This is what the Democrats and the far radical left are trying to do. Just as it's a hopeless tantrum, this kind of violence. They're hoping it spreads. They're hoping it widens. But I'm hoping this guy is straightening out Caitlin Collins up there in the corner, because she's still someone trying to carry the left, the far left, Marxists' water, and ultimately Satan's water.
In a backpack. So all sorts of weapons, all very potentially dangerous. We've seen commercial-grade fireworks being fired at our people, with shrapnel being put in, from what I'm told, and into some of these packages. Again, that is pretty scary stuff when you look at it. Liquid being thrown on our officers, the attitude of our officers and the professionalism and restraint that they've shown is remarkable. They've done a tremendous job out there, and I'm very proud of them. They have weapons.
So this is not a peaceful protest. This is urban warfare.
You know who Jose Martinez Rangel is?
No, sir, I do not.
You don't. You should. Those are 2 men who came into this country illegally and murdered 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary in my home state of Texas. Do you think that elected officials should have welcomed them into our communities? That's a very straightforward question.
Someone who commits murder, no. Someone who commits murder should be
apprehended. Why did you state during Biden's border crisis that illegal aliens, quote, should have been welcomed and helped by elected officials?
When you say illegal aliens, these are people who are given asylum,
and helped into our communities.
People who are
That's an
asylum
easy
seekers.
Yes or no question.
Well, you're mischaracterizing them.
It is your position that they should have been welcomed into our communities. Is that correct?
There were asylum
from
seekers
your
who were
own
here
statement.
legally.
And then they went on and murdered and 12-year-old Jocelyn.
Someone who commits murder should be held accountable. We do that in the state.
And you think they should have been welcomed into our communities before they did?
I don't know how you can tell before somebody commits a crime that they are
secure
going
the
to
border
commit the
and
crime.
not let illegal aliens come into our communities.
This is a culture war, an actual physical, violent culture war on the part of the Marxists, not on our defense. Our defense is totally peaceful. Our cops are de-escalating. I think they're doing an amazing job. Here's a former Democrat goes scorched earth on CNN and obliterates the left's biggest lie about Trump's deportation plan. This is that Unger gal who is going to destroy CNN right here.
I hear this talking point a lot from Democrats that Donald Trump misled the American people and somehow said he was only going to deport violent criminals.
He said he was going to prioritize
At
violent criminals.
every single rally that I watched, he said, we are going to have the largest deportation operation in American history. And the reason he did that is because that position has majority support with the American people. And that position is what got him the majority of working class people. Because immigration is a topic that divides the working class from the elites. 100%. The elites are the consumers of low-wage labor. And when you guys say they're taking people from the community, what you mean is they're taking people from the workforce, people who undercut the wages of American workers, which is why the working class flipped from the Democrats to the Republicans.
So this is a logical reason why so many Democrats are turning Republican. If you're working class, lower working class, then immigration is a huge threat to your jobs. And she's saying in the name of workforce and jobs, Donald Trump has the backs of the middle to lower working class. And the elites, their product are illegal aliens to take away your middle class jobs. Here's Tulsi Gabbard on the riots being clearly orchestrated.
The bottom line is they don't care about the American people. They don't even care about the people that they're claiming to protest for. So many of them are paid protesters. This thing is being orchestrated, obviously, in many ways. And ultimately, President Trump is the one who took action to keep the American people safe and try to bring peace back to the streets that these rioters are destroying.
Okay, I just want to go back to one thing that she said. This is paid protesting. This is ideological. This is spam. Their violence is paid for by far left elite millionaires and billionaires. And most important, what she said was that the people who are paying for these protests do not care about the people they claim to care. They claim to care, remember, about the little Mexican children. You're going to separate families. These people are so anti-family, they would kill every family if they could. That's the Soros people. That's the far left. They believe in grinding up the useful idiots, is how Marx put it. The useful idiots are made to be ground up, and they're just using them to regain their power. Now, I wanted to give you guys a hardcore Democrats' point of view on this, because we have to hear from both sides. I don't even take this side seriously. Don't get me wrong. But this is them claiming that ICE deportations are like Gestapo. That's what the Democrats are saying about the Republicans. You know, the Republicans, we call them Marxists and commies. They call us totalitarians and Nazis, that's the Gestapo police force. So that's their form of branding. Of course, we're telling the truth about them, and they are lying about us, because I can give you more examples of the left acting like Gestapo over the last 4 years than this guy can about the right acting that way.
Laborers at Home Depot, parents who are taking their kids to school.
It's about the children.
In late March, ICE agents wearing masks and hoodies detained Rumeysa Ozturk. And those of you who watched that abduction, when you compare the old films of the Gestapo grabbing people off the streets of Poland.
It's the Gestapo from the streets of Poland.
You said earlier that the ICE agents under the orders of President Trump are a modern-day Gestapo. Do you realize how disgusting a phrase that is, considering the history of Nazi Germany? Would you like to recant that statement?
What I said, Congressman, and I have a long history of supporting law enforcement, I said President Trump was using them as his modern-day Gestapo, not identifying who you are, coming up in unmarked vans, taking people away and giving...
Is it the responsibility of ICE to actually deport illegal aliens in the United States who are here? Isn't that their responsibility?
Yes, it is, Congressman, except that the Constitution is not an inconvenience. It's not an either-or.
Nobody said an inconvenience. You have a responsibility to deport illegal aliens, and the president is going through that process right now. And let's be very clear, the previous administration, they abused every process there is under border laws to allow more than 10 million people into the country illegally. And this is a burden on all Americans. And so the president is doing his job. So it is sick to refer to Americans who are ICE agents as Gestapo.
And you compare them to those nondescript thugs who grabbed that graduate student. It does look like a Gestapo operation.
You know what else looked like a Gestapo operation was January 6th when they tracked the phones of protesters and took them away from their families. They were not heard from. They were not given a lawyer. They were moved thousands of miles away from the place and moved from prison to prison. We know that now was part of the modus operandi of the Nancy Pelosi, the evil anti-Trump movement, formerly by our government. They were vanished, put in solitary confinement. A couple of them committed suicide. Some of them died. So what about the pro-life Catholics that were spied on? That's very Gestapo.
It does look like the Gestapo. She was snatched away and detained 1,700 miles away.
Like the January 6thers.
Her congresswoman couldn't reach her. Her family couldn't reach her.
They didn't allow Marjorie Taylor Greene, wasn't allowed to visit the J6ers. Because you did it, you give permission to the next administration to do it. And if you don't call yourself a Gestapo first, you cannot call the other side a Gestapo. So I will take a Democrat serious the moment they say, look, we were pretty Hitler-like when we did this salute, when Cory Booker did it, and we were pretty Gestapo-like when we moved the January 6th. If you're not willing to say it, then don't even waste my time, because look, if you just want to say this is political name calling, then that's what I'm here to do. Political name calling. Let's do it to each other. It's really fun. You go, oh, you're Gestapo. I go, yeah, you're a Marxist, communist, baby killer. You despise Mexicans. You're a racist. You hate gays. You hate women. You will grind every one of them up for your political movement. And there's more evidence for my insults of you than yours of me. Here's more from Kash Patel breaking massive FBI investigation into LA riots. The CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, is connections exposed. FBI Director Kash Patel launches major probe into who's really funding the LA immigration riots, and you won't believe what they found. Here we go. Bombshell, direct link to is pro-Beijing tech billionaire Neville Roy Singham. So we talked about this yesterday. Uncovered. He's funding two major communist organizations behind the riots. Key players, Party of Socialism and Libertarian. Remember this about libertarians. Many of you guys are getting mad at me for making fun of libertarians for the whole year. Not only do you never put an X next to a Democrat, you never put an X next to the libertarian version of Democrats. I mean, to the atheist version of Democrats, which are libertarians. Libertarians are a joke. They're third party. They're frauds. They're anti-family. They have problems with children. They're open borders. They're pro-drugs. These people are just an atheistic version of Democrats. And they're being part of the funding of this stuff is being money laundered through libertarian organizations. Never vote for a libertarian party. Are you crazy? The People's Forum, both pushing CCP propaganda and organizing riots. Coincidence? I think not. Follow the money. These groups are calling riots a war on immigration communities. That's the branding. Remember that. A war on immigration communities while taking money from pro-China sources. But it doesn't stop there. On the pro-China source, there's a picture of Gavin Newsom, and I find that's perfect to make my point. Remember when China decided to come and visit San Francisco, and Gavin Newsom the week before went and did a massive cleanup of San Francisco, took the poo off the sidewalks, took the needles off the sidewalks, brought out the police to clean up, get the homeless out of there, get the rioters out of there, get the criminals out of there, and then line the streets with Chinese communist flags. When China came to visit San Francisco, boy, was Chinatown clean as a whistle. Boy, was San Francisco all cleaned up. So now they're saying that the best way to clean up LA would be for Gavin Newsom to conduct another visit from China to LA, and he'd clean it all up. Homeless encampments gone. But just so you know, that's where the funding is coming from. Pro-China sources. But it doesn't stop there. ICE was going after hardened criminals, members of the cartels. And that's when Democrats went crazy. Cartel payroll? Probably. George Soros is involved too. Lots of leftists are. What do they have in common? They hate America and they want to weaken, destroy, and overthrow it. That's why Trump's branding is so strong. Make America great again. And communists want to make America weak again. Democrats were outraged when Russia had spent $200,000 on social media bots during the election. They bought some Facebook ads and some spamming bots. So why are they okay with millions and millions in communist money to fund the riots, including pallets of bricks, truckloads of shields, etc. Kash Patel is going to find out. People from openly bragging about taking money from Singham, calling him their friend, but waiting to hear what they've been up to. Singham spotted Chinese propaganda forum in Shanghai, taking notes with the CCP officials. Developing, Congress is now involved. Senator Grassley demanding investigation into foreign agent registration. Rep. Paula Luna confirms House Oversight Committee issuing formal requests to Singham, subpoenas coming if he doesn't comply. Let's move on. I'll get on to this real quick. This one is, I'll turn the volume down just so I can talk at the same time.
Sir, would you like to say anything on camera? Would you like to do a little quick interview? Huh?
Okay, this is a podcaster who's going to, that guy right there is wearing a jacket of an organization funded by Soros. Okay, so what is the unifying feature? That's a Mexican. These are communists. These are radicals funded by Soros. Now I'm going to skip. There it is. That's the Carnalismo. And then now this lady, she's famous for being on the Sidewalk School and Rapid Response Organization. This is Gabby Zavala's Asylum Seeker Network. We have her interviewed, former administrator of LUPE, Lupe. What are they funding? Look over here. So that's her she's in the protest. And there they are with, those are rainbow flags down at the bottom. This is trans, gay, communist material. Add another outrage. They have Hamas flags. They despise America. They are pro-illegal immigrant. That Lupe organization formerly supported drag queens for children. You're going, what does the rainbow flag have to do with LA? They're funded by communists. The rainbow flag is a communist flag. By the way, always has been. The rainbow movement. So gays have always been with us, but they were never united under the flag until the communist Marxists started taking over that movement in the 60s. The same way the communist Marxists took over environmentalism. You're going, well, what does a green earth have to do with Marxism? They took over Greenpeace in the 60s, and the president of Greenpeace left because he said, I didn't want to start a socialist outfit. I'm here for the environment. They're politicized. The Black Civil Rights Movement has been taken over by them. They find disenfranchised, angry people and unite them under undermining your government. Here's Stephen Miller. If your stance is that we can only deport illegals after they violently attack a citizen, then you're saying we have no border at all. Zero rules, zero restrictions, no limits. Anyone can come. Anyone can overstay a visa. Anyone can stay forever. Total anarchy, nation dissolved. That's true. Your nation is dissolved if you don't have borders. Now here's Scott Adams with the greatest idea of all. He's saying that he's hoping all of the left, is hoping that all of these protests that are going on in 2 days, June 14th, Trump's birthday, celebration of our armies, and the left has announced over 100, Rachel Maddow, if you look for her face on one of my previous videos, said 120 of our woke cities are going to have protests against Donald Trump that are funded by this communist organization. Scott Adams knows what they're really looking for is a George Floyd situation. They're hoping a cop or any protester shows up with a gun and shoots or takes out one of these anti-ICE, pro-illegal immigration communists so they can have their victim. They want their martyr and their victim. And it only takes one across the country so they know, start all these protests, someone on our side is going to over-respond. That's why you always conduct yourself with conservative principles. Do not make death threats. Do not say, I'm going to punch that guy. That's not what we do. That only helps the enemy.
According to Fox News, 1,500 protests planned in 50 states. PBD was on Fox News, and he was talking about it was like a setup that Democrats are looking for their next George Floyd moment to frame Trump as a dictator. Now, that's exactly what it is. I would go further and say what we're in is not a protest, but a photo op competition. Once you start thinking of it as a photo op competition, then everything makes sense. So at the moment, Trump is winning because the photo ops are, guy with Mexican flag on top of a burning car. So that's a photo that's, works in Trump's favor.
This is why I talk so much about branding and marketing, because there's a competition right now with who will win that debate in public.
So at the moment, the photo op competition is strongly favoring Trump. But it would only take one photo of something that goes the other way before the Democrats could be, solidly winning the photo op competition. They just need one law enforcement person to put one knee on somebody's back. They just need one person to be wounded badly who's a protester. They need a short video of somebody who didn't look too dangerous being, dragged away. The photo op contest will get a lot closer than it is. At the moment, like I say, Trump is, he's dominating. All the photos are pro wanting a strong leader to take control. But keep an eye on that. So, yeah.
So this is 99% right now of the photo ops are going toward Trump, because it's very easy to find cars on fire, people being violent, throwing water, throwing rocks at police. But man, one innocent person or one person getting, if we do to them what they did to us, the media, it would take one event. They can do 1,000 of those against us. If we do one event against them, the media will go nuts. It will be 24/7, and it'll be Caroline Leavitt, Trump, will you comment on what happened in, Austin, that woman that got that fell down when she was pushed and she cracked her head open and died. That's on you. Will you comment? Will you demand that all of the right wing or the police step it down across the entire country, because now we've proven that you're violent. Remember that marketing, guys, because that is what they're hoping and praying for. Here is breaking. The driver who gained attention for delivering the bionic shield face masks to rioters in Los Angeles was arrested by the FBI. Good guys. In a sting operation at his home this morning. Alejandro Orellana was taken into custody on suspicion of conspiracy to commit civil disorder. You all done. What your Christian leftist friends, the woke Christian friends that you're trying to tear your church apart. Look, here's a bunch of riots yelling at this guy who's a street preacher sitting in a chair. He's just preaching the word there on the ground, and they're all coming and screaming in his face, and they hose him down with water. That's my brother, my Christian people. We've been ground up for sharing the gospel by atheistic scum, pagan scum like these since the beginning. That brother, he should be happy that he gets to identify with the sufferings of Christ. And here is Drew Pinsky.
People that claim to be caring so much, in fact, care not at all. This is all theater. This is a people who believe that their aggression exists outside of them, when in fact they're the ones with the aggression. And
these are aggressive, violent people projecting on the rest of us, going, it is totally justified because it is outside of me. And he's going, this is all theater. That is, this is marketing. This is branding.
They have to take their feelings and pour it out upon the rest of us. They're not interested in getting anything done. They're interested in emotion and expression of that emotion, and then we are done here. The reality is, what I would tell Jimmy? I said, you're upset, but most people in this city, the people that are afraid is the average citizen who can't get to work and can't deal with the freeways. We're scared. We're staying at home, not the immigrants so much as the rest of the population here. And the reality is, ICE came in to take people that would have been handed over to ICE if this were not a sanctuary city. That's it.
Do you believe that the Biden-Harris administration secured the border?
And then, much in the logic of Abraham Lincoln, when Abraham Lincoln re-provisioned Fort Sumter, it's exactly what the sworn obligation of the president is, to protect federal property. That's what he's doing. This is not complicated. This is not an attack. The attack is coming from the other side, and thankfully, the law enforcement is doing a great job of containing rather than escalating.
The left is trying to say that it's the right that started the violence. That's Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom. They're going, everything was fine until the police showed up. No, the police are there. They have to protect the Constitution and the law and the citizens, and the other side is the one that's attacking. So their branding, we'll find out if it's sticking or not. Here's Anna Paula Luna with our last little clip. Receiving reports out of New York tonight that 88 Antifa members, that's anti-fascist is what Antifa stands for, even though they really are fascistic themselves. Antifa members were arrested. They were from out of state New York and came to riot. They're not Mexican or Hispanic, and they were waving Mexican flags. This is a giant psyop. That is a psychological operation. And now you can be protected from it when you see these images. You will not be psychologically operated upon. I'm Doug in Exile. Subscribe.